Hello friends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Sunny Days with Sam. This week we are continuing and completing our crocheted bolero. This week we're going to be adding a hood and then adding some ties so that you can close your bolero. Here are the steps that I take to complete both. After I finish this crochet along series, we're going to be starting my next crochet along series, creating my wook hood. To start today, we're going to be adding our hood. So to start my hoods, I always attach my two halves of my hexagon first. And then I use that center seam as like my pinpoint of where I'm going to start my hood. From there, I count down 6 chain spaces. Once I get into that 6 chain space, I'm going to slip stitch, I'm going to half double crochet, and then I'm going to insert 1 double crochet, and this is going to act as a 3 double crochet cluster to start that first row of my hood. We're going to be using the same hook size. If you want to size up, size down for your hood, that's totally up to you. And I want you to keep in mind that there are many ways for you to create a hood. I know some people like to just make, like a giant granny square and then sew it on, but I really do not like sewing. I don't like sewing on pockets, hoods, nothing. So I always try to make my pieces continuous, and that's why I make my hood the way that I'm about to show you. So like I said, in that 6 chain space, counting down from the center seam of your bolero, you're going to insert a slip stitch, then you're going to insert a half double crochet, and then 1 double crochet, and that's going to act as your first cluster. And then you're honestly just going to build this hood like you've built your whole bolero by inserting those 3 double crochet clusters in every chain space. Whenever you get to that center seam of your hood, you're going to count 6 chain spaces over on the opposite side so that you can make the other side of your hood. This just makes your hood one continuous piece instead of having to attach, I don't know, like 2 granny squares is one way that I've seen it, and then you seam it up the middle. I don't really like that. Or 1 large granny square and then you sew it on. I don't like that either. I just like to build onto my boleros and cardigans with a hood in this way so that it's basically all one piece. And then you can do like one finalizing, 3 double crochet cluster, or you can do 1 single crochet around, however, so that you can make it all form together into one piece. But like I said, that's just the way that my freeform crochet brain works. So you can do this a variety of ways. All I'm going to do is insert 3 double crochet clusters the whole way across, 6 chain spaces on the right side, 6 chain spaces on the left side, and then after that 6th space, you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. That kind of pulls it all down the hood. You don't want it like bulging out with the material. You don't want to see those rows that you're creating. You'll see a visual of what I'm trying to say a little later on in the video. But for now, you're just going to insert those 3 double crochet clusters in 6 chain spaces on the right, 6 chain spaces on the left. You're going to flip it. You're going to chain 3, and then you're going to insert 3 double crochet clusters going the opposite way. And you're going to do this for about, I usually do like 18 to 20 rounds, rows, whatever you want to say. Like I said, I'm a freeform crocheter. So whenever it comes to the technicalities of, like the language of crochet and things like sewing in your ends, I'm like, what are you even talking about? But anyways, I do about 20 rows of this 3 double crochet cluster across the top of the bolero to form the hood. And then once I get to that many rows, I'm going to sew the center seam. You'll basically be folding that big square that you're building up in half. For this YouTube video, you're welcome to speed it up or slow it down. Like I said, I'm just going to be doing that 3 double crochet cluster across, chain 3, flipping my work. I'm going to be doing that for about 20 rows. Now, once I get about 5 to 10 rows in, I stop chaining 3 and I start chaining 1. I just think that really pulls the hood together better. I think that it makes a better formation, but I'm a freeform crocheter, so you guys are welcome to build this hood however you would like. This is just how I do my hoods. Remember, this is the last part of our crochet along for our hooded bolero. After this video, you will have a completed bolero. You will have cuffs, hoods, ties, everything. You're going to have a finished piece. And I would really love if my participants could send me some pictures whenever you finish this. I know everybody is working at different speeds. That's the beauty of this crochet along. I have it up on my Instagram full time. You can check out my reels or you can check out my highlights where I have links to all of the different step-by-step, day-by-day, week-by-week crochet alongs that I've been posting. You can also tune into my YouTube channel. I have a playlist for my crochet along, and I also have a completed tutorial coming soon of, every step to complete the Bolero in just one video. I think it's been really fun working on these week by week tutorials with you guys, but I do realize that some people are like me and they just want a really quick and easy version of the tutorial up so that they can get it done within like a few days, 10-minute video. I totally understand that. So I am working on that. I'm just going to be combining all of the crochet along videos that we've been doing over the past few weeks. Remember to subscribe to my channel and you will get a discount code to my YouTube channel for 50% off. You can use it as many times as you want. And to all of the people that are watching this video now, go use code YouTube in all caps for 50% off your next order. I have a lot of new items up there for winter, for spring. I'm working on a lot of new patterns. I just released 2 pattern serges for my Butter Kisses cardigan. I'm really excited about this one, but also my Wook hood. And speaking of the Wook hood, that will be my next crochet along. I did a little poll to see what everybody's favorite pattern would be for the next crochet along, and everybody said the Wook hood, and I'm so about it, guys. I have a few shows coming up, and I'm honestly convincing myself that I need to make myself Wook hoods for both, especially for Cyclops rocks, because it's probably going to be cold. Colorado, I feel like, is cold all the time. Super excited to go to Cyclops rocks, but I'm like, I need to bring layers, like so many layers. One of the beauties about YouTube is that you can slow the video down, you can speed it up to where you need to. One of the things that I'm hoping to improve with my YouTube channel is I'm going to be able to add some timestamps so that you guys can fast forward through my tutorials and see where the next row starts. I know not everybody is following this step by step. Me personally, I usually pick up on, video tutorials pretty easily. I'm a visual learner. So you can speed this up and go to the next part if you would like. I will be adding timestamps soon. Just be patient with me as I am still figuring out YouTube, but I also work a full-time job. So I'm a little behind on all the things that I wanted to get completed for this channel, but I try to remind myself I work 40 hours a week. My job is in healthcare in a memory care community. It is super, super demanding. So most of my time goes to that. I wish that I could have more time that goes to Sunny Days, but I really, really love my career. So this is just a part-time gig, and you guys are going to be able to check in later this week for a shortened, full-length tutorial of how to make your own Bolero. For the pictured Bolero and the one that we've been working on, I've been using a mixture of cotton and acrylic yarns, but I've made these Boleros with everything from wool yarn to eyelash yarn. You can really use any hook size and any material, any fiber that you would like with this pattern. It is a super adjustable pattern. You can make it for any size, which is something that I really like. If you are looking for some measurement guides, you can find them in the pattern description, the tutorial description. You can also find them in the written PDF downloadable pattern. It's available on my website, soon to be Etsy, but I want to make a few revisions since I have learned a few more pattern writing skills over the past year. But anyways, continue to follow this video if you would like to see how to build your hood. And here's our completed hood. We're about to sew it together, and then we're going to add some rows to the front. I don't like how hoods look after you just do this first few rows of granny squares, like around the edges. So we're about to sew this hood up together in the middle. We're going to fold this square in half, and we're going to sew it up the middle. One thing you need to think of whenever you do this, though, is check where your inside seams are on the rest of your Bolero so you remember and can know what side and how to fold that granny square so that you can seam it. If that didn't make sense, then you're going to see a visual of how I fold it. You're going to see me checking my seams, everything in the next few minutes. So I usually do like 20 rows of 3 double crochet clusters. I sew my hood or seam it up the middle, and then I slip stitch right below where I started that first row of 3 double crochet clusters on my hood. And I do these like outer layers of 3 double crochet clusters around the edge of my hood. I just think it looks a lot better than having the chain 3 double crochet cluster like edges. You're going to see what I'm talking about later in the video, but I just want to give you guys a visual and a little bit of an idea of where we are going to go with this hood. So right there where I'm creasing the hood in half, you're going to see where we're going to be sewing up the middle. Remember, check your seams of your bolero. One thing I hate is whenever I get lazy or, the ADHD kicks in and I don't pay attention to where that sewn seam is of the center of the bolero. And then I sew my hood on the wrong side and then I have seams showing no matter how I fold or unfold my bolero. Anytime I sew pieces together, even if I'm just seaming a hood, I do the same pattern of 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and stitch 3. And I continue that pattern of 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet across the whole thing. I just don't like the way that whenever I sew pieces together, if I only do 1 single crochet per stitch, it like bunches the material together, it pulls it tighter. I don't like the way that that looks. I don't like tight crocheted pieces, if you understand what I'm saying. I like it to be very flowy, very flimsy, very free and comfortable. I like to layer my crochet pieces, so especially if I'm making like cardigans, boleros, I want to make sure that they can go under or over something. So here you're just going to be continuing that pattern of 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet. You're going to tie off your work at the end, and then you're going to be slip stitching right below where you started that first row of 3 double crochet clusters for your hood, and you're going to be building an outer rim of your hood. Here we are finishing up, tying off our work, and then you're going to see this hood laid flat without that outer layer of 3 double crochet clusters that we're about to add. Remember, if you want your bolero to be longer, you can always go around that bottom edge and add 3 double crochet clusters or a little bit of a waistband, however you want to do it. But remember, for this one, we are following my Moss Fairy Bolero pattern where we add ties, so it pulls tighter. You are welcome to use buttons, hooks, other attachments, however you want to do it, but for this one, we are following my Moss Fairy Bolero pattern. You can find this pattern on my website, and you can check out my Instagram, my website, for all of my tester photos. It is a beginner-friendly pattern if you are familiar with hexagon cardigans, so keep that in mind. Remember that all of my patterns are made to measure, but I do have a crochet measurement guide on my website and available for all of my patterns. So back to adding those final layers of the hood. This is that edge with the chain 3 and 3 double crochet clusters that I am showing you. Remember, we folded that in half. So this is just that outer edge of the 3 double crochet clusters that we put across the top of the bolero to start forming the hood. And I'm just going to be adding more rows of 3 double crochet clusters around the edge. I just think it looks cleaner. I think that it adds a little bit more flexibility to the hood. I don't like my pieces to be stiff. So you're going to start this out by doing 1 single crochet or a slip stitch, however you prefer to say it, 1/2 double crochet, and then 1 double crochet into that chain space right next to or below that last 3 double crochet cluster. I just insert 3 double crochet clusters the whole way up in all of those chain 3 spaces between the 3 double crochet clusters that built your hood up. For my bolero, I only added an additional 3 rows of 3 double crochet clusters, and at the end of every row I do a single crochet or a slip stitch into that next stitch. That just pulls your hood flat so you don't have this material sticking out. You don't see all the stitches that you've added. It just kind of gives it a completed look. You can speed it up, you can slow it down, whatever you need. Remember, this is not the only way that you can crochet a hood onto your bolero. You can do this literally any other way, but me as a free form crochet artist, this is the way that I like to do it. I like my pieces to have a very finished look to them. I like them all to be cohesive and all the stitches to go together. So I always try to build my attachments of pieces into the already existing pieces that I have of that final product. Remember, you can tune into my Instagram and my YouTube channel every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 8 a.m. EST for my next crochet along. If you haven't checked out my Instagram lately or my TikTok, my threads, my Facebook, I just did a pattern tester hunt for my Wook hood pattern. This is a hood pattern that I've been sitting on for really, honestly, like a year or two at this point. I always make pieces, but then I get too excited to make the next piece. So then I like completely ditch finishing my patterns for the piece that I just completed. So right now I'm trying to go back and look at those pieces, rewrite those patterns, and then you guys are able to go and create your own. And I really love that. I love that I make these free-form random crochet pieces and I get to jot some notes down, write out exactly how I made it, and you guys go and make it yourself. It's extremely humbling. So anyways, the next crochet along video is going to be the Wook hood. I started recording content today. It's a little different than the Cosmic Cat hood pattern that I released last year. It's a smaller, more fitting hood, but it also has different stitches and textures going with it. It's a really fun hood. It's really cute. I really love the ties, and I love that you can style it different ways. So anyways, that crochet along starts next Monday at 8 a.m. EST. So here I am going down that second side of row 1, adding the additions to my hood. This is that first row of 3 double crochet clusters across that edge of the granny square that we had built into our Bolero. At the end of this row, you're going to slip stitch or single crochet into that next stitch wherever your 3 double crochet cluster ends. You're going to chain 3, and then you're going to insert 3 double crochet clusters into every chain space going back. I did this for 3 rows. You can test this hood as you go, once you get like 3 rows. Try it on, try your Bolero on, see if you need a little bit more depth to your hood. And if you do, just keep adding those rows of 3 double crochet clusters. Here's a visual example of how I end that row 1, and this is how I start the following row. I usually insert like 3 double crochet clusters or 2 double crochet and then 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then I slip stitch into that following stitch. This is just to have that hood lay a little bit more flat, have a more natural flow to it rather than having those 3 double crochet clusters and chain 3s sticking out. Remember, once you flip your work, you're going to chain 3 and then you're going to insert 3 double crochet into that next space so that you can start forming row 2. And then you're going to insert 3 double crochet into every chain space from the previous row. You're just going to continue this pattern until the hood is the depth and the width that you want it to be. Remember, this is the last video for our crochet along, creating your own Bolero. We are adding our hood today. We're going to finish our hood, and then we're going to add ties. The Bolero style that I chose for this tutorial is the Moss Fairy Bolero. The only difference between the Moss Fairy Bolero pattern and my hooded Bolero pattern is that for my hooded Bolero, I usually add like a button or a front tie, whereas the Moss Fairy Bolero, I add ties that wrap around so that I can wrap it around my legs. I can wrap it around my whole body. I like to be able to style my Bolero sleeves however I want with whatever outfit. It's honestly a really great accessory, especially if you're going to like shows, going out to the bar, going out in the town, because they keep you warm, but like in warmer weather, they're not like overwhelming like a sweater. So here I am after I finished on my 3 rows of 3 double crochet clusters. I hope you can kind of see visually what I meant by adding that finishing touch to our hood. If you need a reference check, you can go back, fast forward, you can rewind to where I was before I added the 3 rows. You can fast forward if you want to go right to the ties, however you want to go with this video. At the end of row 3, or whatever row I end up on whenever it comes to finishing my hood, I'm just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and then I always add a slip stitch into one of the 3 double crochet clusters, but I make sure that I slip stitch underneath where those seams are, the inside of the cardigan, because remember, whenever you sew your pieces together, there's a visual seam. If you want to class this piece up a little bit, or you're going to a funky rave, festival, whatever you feel like doing, add ears. I'm a huge fan of adding ears. I always add ears by starting in that center seam. I count over 3 to 5 3 double crochet clusters and see where the ears sit on my head. I try on the hood. If you want to add a little oomph to your piece, please add ears. Send me pictures of all these finished boleros, guys. I'm really excited. This Crochet Away With Me series has been awesome. It has been so fun connecting with so many different artists. It has been really fun seeing your finished products. Remember that my Bolero patterns are available on my website. You can look up my hooded Bolero. You can also look up my Moss Fairy Bolero. You will also see that I just released this Bolero pictured that we just built during our crochet along on my website. It's for $85. It is a size extra small through medium, and it is available ready to ship on my website. Now get ready to add some ties. For my ties, I group all of the colored yarns that I use together. I tie them together and I really just slip stitch into the corner piece of my Bolero, and I chain 150 to 200 or more depending on how long I want the ties to be. I always use a larger hook size whenever it comes to adding more yarns. Like I'll be working with 4 yarns, as you can see. All the yarns that I use for this Bolero, I'll be using for the ties. The hook that I used was a little too small. It didn't catch all the yarns whenever I tried to single crochet and chain with all 4 yarns. So I upped my hook size to a 6mm hook. But I've also experimented with bigger, smaller. It really just depends on the weight of your yarn. If you're comfortable, you can speed this video up to the end so you can see how this Bolero is styled and fits once it is completed with the ties and the hood. You can rewind it if you need to catch up on a few of the rows. Remember that these videos are up on my YouTube for eternity, and they are also available on my Instagram. On my Instagram, you can see week by week, row by row, all the different steps that we took to build this Bolero. On my YouTube, at my playlist, you can go to my crochet along where you can see week by week the videos and the steps that I took to build the Bolero. But also later, I will have a shortened, completed Bolero tutorial for you guys to watch. I'm working on it now. I just need to edit a few things. I need to edit in these last few steps and do the voiceover, and then we will be all caught up. It will be available on my YouTube channel soon. Don't forget, our next crochet along is going to be the Wook hood. I already started recording and voicing all of the things this weekend, so stay tuned. Next Monday at 8 a.m. EST, we're going to start our next crochet along. Send in your finished Bolero photos to my Instagram, my YouTube, my Facebook, my Canvas, everything, so that I can see what you guys are doing. I would love to post them. This crochet along has been so much fun, and I like to hype up other artists. Of course, I added some fringe to my Bolero. I'm also working on a fringe Bolero right now. I'm really excited to show it to you guys, but I'm really trying to figure out the best way to implement all the steps for creating it and make sure that it is an easy, readable pattern. So stay tuned. Thank you guys for tuning into my crochet along. I super appreciate it. You now have a completed Bolero. Subscribe to my channel. Send me a screenshot for a 50% discount.